Hey, it's Nitya with Karma Chameleon. Welcome. So today I am bringing the song of Jimmy Buffett to you as he just passed away September 1st, 2023. And his chart is very interesting, and I bet you can guess what animal sits in his day pillar. I bet you can guess it's the same as many singers, and we're going to dive into this. So this is Karma Chameleon, where we look at the charts of celebrities and famous people to better understand our own charts in our own lives. And we also talk about feng shui and flying stars feng shui. So welcome. If this is something that speaks to you, please subscribe, like, follow, all the good things. And I welcome your comments. Please keep it positive. So Jimmy Buffett, born on Christmas Day, 1946 at 1:08 a.m. This is the year of Yang Fire Dog, the month of Yang Metal Rat, the day of Yin Water Rooster. See, I'm telling you, so many singers, Beyonce and others, because I just did Beyonce and Jay-Z's charts. Scroll down for that one. But roosters, my friend, my gosh, so many roosters are singers. And we know this one, the hour of Yin Water Ox. And I will say, you know, much like the first impression I get when I walk into a home, there is an energy that you immediately feel. I would like to think that when you walk into my home, the first thing you feel is a sigh of relief, a feeling of tranquility and peacefulness. Yeah. Looking at an astrology chart, I can immediately sense the gist of this person, right? So you've got, you know, your umbrella is like the overall flavor here of Jimmy is the dog. Of course it's the dog. And the fire, there isn't a whole lot of fire in his chart, but that fire is there fueling the dog. And the dog is loyal. He was loyal and true. And you know, give him cred. He created his music, wrote all this music, and for something like 50 some years, sang those songs. Didn't change his sound, didn't go from, you know, rock and roll to country or rap to pop or any of that. He stayed true. That is such dog behavior. And his fan base, that commitment that he made, so there. Couple that with his hour being with the ox. And I've said this, the ox is one of the hardest working, tried and true. If you want a job done, look to somebody born on the day of the ox, or if it's their career, somebody that's got the ox in their hour, because it really does speak to someone with a strong work ethic. This is somebody you can rely on. And then you have the dog, who is loyal and true. Somebody that is going to stand up for the underserved. Someone who is about justice. Now, what I came to me, because I was looking at the news like I shouldn't at night in bed, and I saw his hour or his day as the rooster, and what came to mind was Parrot Club, which is his fan base, is the Parrot Club, right? And I was like, oh my God, the same color palette. You know, when you think of a parrot traditionally, you think of those colors of red and green and blue. It's so vibrant, right? And the same is the rooster. I was like, oh my God, his Parrot Club might as well be the Rooster Club. And have you ever been around parrots? They are so loud. You walk into a house with people who have birds, you know they have birds. They don't get quiet until it's nap time or nighttime. All right, so the other thing you might have noticed, we've got a yin water hour, a yin water day. In his month, the rat is yin water. This guy is so much water. And because his month is water, it surges that water by 1.25% more, building him up to a mighty 50% water in his chart. And the metal that feeds him balanced at 26%. He's got no wood in his chart, which is interesting. That's like the impetus to put out, to create, to do. The fire, which is what he controls, which is what makes this not a dominant chart, and you can't have a dominant chart of your own element anyway. And earth is slightly weak. There's his career. So there is enough sustenance. I've said this before, when you want to see a successful career path, what you want to see is someone who has a strong amount of ruler, or at least balanced, and his is slightly weak at about 12-13%. Now, you want to make sure that the element feeding the ruling element, which here is fire, has enough there, which there is at 12%, again, slightly weak, to motivate the career. So that is there. And then you need the support, the parent element, which for him is metal, to keep this flow into the day element, the self element, which is water, so that this person has longevity. And then all of those pieces are in place. The other thing, and we've seen this with other celebrities, very typical, that there is so much of their own element. So what happens is they create their world. And Jimmy Buffett created a world. I mean, I worked at Borders Books and Music for better part of a decade in management. And I remember when his book came out, and the Parrot Club of Richmond, Virginia came out in droves, were camped out overnight, wrapped around the building to get in to see him. And I vaguely remember, when you're working, it's not like you're going to have a sit down chat more than just a hello and what can I get you to drink. But it was a big deal. It was a big, big deal. And he was a big deal. And that he created his world. Look at Jay-Z, look at Beyonce, look at Trump, all of these people, and so many others. They have so much of their own energy, their own element, that their world is very much made up of the people that are like their colleagues, their peeps, it's their tribe. Yeah. And so this is his world, the Parrot Club, cock-a-doodle-doo, or whatever a parrot says. Add to this that he's got in his chart a semi-seasonal metal trio that is made complete in his current luck cycle. That was a yang earth monkey. And again, we have the elements needed for that sustainability of career. I mean, I think he was scheduled to be at a concert this Labor Day weekend and canceled, obviously. His health had declined to the point where he was leaving this plane, this earth. And so this time of his life, the monkey combines with his rooster and dog to create a full metal trio. And then there's the semi-traditional metal trio of Rooster and Ox. Now, all of that metal, and I've said, this is known, a chart that is too hot and dry and a chart that is too cold and wet, which is what his is, which is kind of funny given the fact that he lived, well, for part of his life, he lived in Key West. I think later on he was in New York at the time of his death. I don't know how long he was in New York, but that's definitely colder. And that did not help. In fact, I would say that the fire of living in the South and living where it was hot and sunny, even though it's what contributed to his skin cancer that killed him, the heat really was good for his chart. Yeah. Instead, being where it's cold and damp just adds to that. So this is a chart that I would say is set up for him to have gotten cancer. And when you have a chart like that, one of the things you want to do is counterbalance it. So if your chart is too cold and wet, warm it up. Mine is too hot and dry. I try to give myself more water. Taking long, lovely baths, things like that. Going to spend time by the water. Wild water is great. They go into the ocean. All right, so there is also a semi-seasonal water trio of Rat and Ox in his chart. And the day of his death was a monkey. His luck cycle was again the monkey. And his rat in his month. And the life pillar of the dragon creates a full water trio. And this just feels like such an overwhelm of his own element, almost like drowning in yourself. Now, where do things get sideways and wonky? Well, let's look. There's a few things going on in his chart. One is the dog and the ox. The dog and the ox form a punishment. Now, this penalty isn't as bad as if you had the sheep also in here. This is where you have the earth zodiac animals creating, it's kind of like this condition of stress. And the stress in his chart was a lifelong stress stemming from situations, family situations that taxed his system. Okay, so it's kind of like, for instance, if you grew up in a home where poverty and survival was a constant theme, that would be something like this, that kind of a stress. It weakens the life force, even as this person is so full of life force. My God, was this man, he in his chart, this is a dreamer. This is an idealist. This is a guy destined to have wealth. But again, and I've seen this with other celebrities, the destiny to have wealth doesn't even be actualized because it's not needed, because the day master is so strong. 76% of his energy is wrapped up in what nourishes him and himself and his tribe. Then you've got the dragon, which is his life pillar, is this secret conflict with his dog self. And what this does is it adds instability to the water, though I don't know that that really plays because there's so much of it. What it does show, though, is that the fire was weakened, contributing to his chart being even colder and wetter. It surges, though, that conflict of the dragon and the dog actually surges up his earth. And this feels to me, intuitively feels to me, like this is earth that is a back pocket surge of support for his career. His career, again, being sitting in that earth element. All right. There is a harm in his chart between his own dog year and his own rooster self that threatens, I would say, adds an element of instability to the earth and to the metal. Now, this is the thing. If you have trios that are the same as this, affecting the same element as a conflict, the conflict is muted and the trio wins. So in this case, again, because there are these trios of metal, I think the metal is okay. Then you have to ask, which is it? Is it the dragon dog conflict surging his earth? Or is it the dog and rooster bringing the earth down? And so that would add a little bit of instability, but I don't think it's actualized. You look at his career, it was steadfast. Okay. Still, it's interesting to look at all of these components, all of these factors. Okay. For instance, when there is those instabilities, rising, falling, it sets the stage for, let's say, a rough year to show up, a year in which his day master is under attack, and then that's when that instability suddenly starts to really take shape, and things can crumble suddenly and fall apart suddenly or shatter, like cracks, right? I've talked about this recently too. And let's look at this year. This is the defining point, because he'd been sick with this cancer for a while. Okay, and this was a pretty aggressive, rare form of skin cancer. All right, so this year we have the rat, which is in his month. But what we also have is the rooster sitting in his day. Now let's unpack both of these. So this year of the rabbit, the two most afflicted animals are people who are rats and people who are roosters, and then we have rabbit people themselves, because it's kind of like an affront. It's a head-to-head. I've often said it's like two people showing up at a gala, a very important thing, a big event where two people show up wearing the same dress, and the hostess is wearing one dress and you show up wearing this very special, very beautiful dress just like her. It's not a good thing. And so it's kind of like an insult. It's what it is. It's like an insult. All right, so we've got the rat showing up, and this really is kind of like this is where relationships get wonky and weird, and like, for instance, you might have a parent die and the siblings are all of a sudden on each other and bringing each other down and fighting over the inheritance in a way that you never saw coming. Like, whoa, what happened, right? It's where things seem like one thing and then all of a sudden you realize they aren't. And maybe you're not safe. Maybe this person is manipulative or has a personality disorder, whatever. It's a time when relationships, deep personal relationships can go really south really fast, and you need to protect yourself. Now, this shows up in his month, and this would more affect his parents and older siblings than anything else. Then you've got the Rooster. Now, it's interesting that when he died, we were almost in the month of the Rooster. The month of the Rooster starts, I believe, on Tuesday, on the 5th. And and if you look at the flying stars for September 2023 video, I talk more about this, but it's like the Rooster rules the west and the rabbit rules the east. And so they are opposite each other. And this year is where the 3 killings and the Shui Po are sitting. And so it's like a really afflicted direction. That's why. And the Rooster and the rabbit, it's like the Rooster as yin metal and the rabbit is yin wood. It's like cutting all the flowers in the garden. There is this this conflict going on. And when it hits your day master, it directly impacts your health, your welfare, your very life force, and your marriage. All of those things can be threatened. I know a lot of people born on the day of the Rooster, and I'm here to tell you, September, as if 2023 weren't hard enough, this month of September is going to be a wake-up call. Literally, it's the Rooster. It is a time of being heard. It is a time of crowing loudly. If you've been holding back, Rooster people are going to be sounding their battle cry. And rabbits don't like confrontation, and they certainly don't want to be in a war, a fight, or anything else. They're very timid, very shy, and sensitive. So when you're looking at all of the constructs of his chart, that's where it feels like this year, when somebody has been sick, this is the piece that feels the most like it's going down. Okay. And for some reason, I have this in my head that this was something affecting his blood. You can put in comments if you know what I'm talking about, because the fire being so weak and there's so much water and so much metal, that I would have guessed his heart gave out. Or there was something having to do with circulation. Certainly not mental health. This guy was fun. Loved, like one of those people that just simply loved life. Dreamed big. Was loyal and true. Had such a fan base, and independent, a natural leader, as far as doing what he did for so long. And it was most of his life. There's very little of his life that he wasn't doing what he did, all the way to the end. Singing all the way to the end. And so, I think we should all have a margarita to to celebrate this guy. Just such a beautiful life. And if you wanted to know his life pillar of a yang water dragon, and dragons are very wet. It's a kind of a wet, warm, kind of like, not quite a swamp, but more like, I would make it fresher, more like a garden in spring after big rain. It's a very warm, soft earth, wet earth. Anyway, so his life pillar really speaks of somebody who played a role, that put on this persona, of Jimmy Buffett. He branded himself in a lot of ways, and such name recognition. Who doesn't know Jimmy Buffett in Margaritaville? I mean, my God. And then with that is his wife, not his wife, daughters, if he had daughters. And this, again, it comes back to somebody that is very central focused in his life around family. And you can extend that out again to his tribe, his work, his commitments, his responsibilities, this world that he created, the Parrot Club and the nest in which he, was his stage. The nest was his stage for the rooster to crow, the parrot to crow, to sing. And that this was a life that was one that there's this little spark of that joy in everything he was doing. Blessings to his family. Shine on, my friend, in the next dimension. Thank you for all your music. Be well, friends.